memorable image. It's inside the Oval Office. You see it here, and they're all reaching in with their hands on him. Gretchen Carlson and Xochitl Hinojosa are both here with me. So Gretchen, obviously, you know Trump, and he's come out here now putting another image. So he's forced to take down that image of himself as Jesus Christ. Yes. Despite that ridiculous comment about being a doctor. And now he went out and put another image. And in this one, he isn't Jesus Christ, but Jesus Christ is embracing him and, condoning him, supporting him, whatever the implications of this clearly are. Mm-hmm. So he's doing this 2 days later.
So obviously the first meme was actually him as Jesus Christ then, because why would he continue on? And well, we know this about Trump, is that he never leaves a bad story when he should leave.
That's right. He didn't put a doctor embracing him.
No, he did not. It wasn't a Red Cross worker either. So he's back to putting himself, okay, maybe it's not appropriate for me to actually be Jesus, but I will be right next to him and he will be hugging me. The deep implication here, of course, is that he is either an equal to Jesus or a very, very close friend.
Or somehow, to use Christian terms, anointed by him, chosen by him, right? The kind of right hand of the Father.
Yes. And I do think that there's a deeper meaning here with him, because he's continuing down this storyline, because some of his supporters do think of him as a savior of sorts. And so, now he's continuing to push that imagery out there. And I think it's a little scary, quite honestly, that we're to a point now where just 3 weeks ago, his spiritual advisor called him Jesus, and there was no admonishment of that. And now he's continuing down this path. And where do we end up with this?
I mean, Xochitl, his post was radical left lunatics don't like this. But the anger, the shock, the disbelief at the post, the original post, was so widespread that he actually took it down and attempted to come up with that ridiculous doctor comment.
Yeah, it's not just the radical left. There are 53 million Catholics in the United States. And I'll say in the last election, he not only got evangelicals, but he got a lot of Catholics and Latino Catholics that used to be Democratic and now moved to the Republican Party because they felt that their values were more in line with the Republican Party, whether it came on social issues, LGBTQ rights, abortion, etc. Republicans or Democrats have made inroads with key groups like Latinos and Catholics, and this definitely does not help. What's interesting about all of this is over the last few months in his second term, he's also had this obsession with going to heaven. He's talked about it a lot, about going
and how he probably isn't
going to heaven.
Interesting.
And I also do think that there is some worry with this fight, this back and forth with the Pope, now what he's posting on social media, and his sort of stress about going to heaven and potentially what is next for him is it's sort of interesting the way that he has acted around this. And to be honest with you, I think his fight with the Pope is actually impacting him in some way.
He's spending quite a bit of time on it. He's spending quite a bit of time on it.
As we've said before, crisis PR management should have gotten a hold of this a long time ago and said, when you had to take the post down, that would probably be a time to stop talking about this.
Right. So, Gretchen, this also comes with the back and forth over the Pope, which led to Vance last night warning the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology, which of course is the Pope's business. If he has a business, that's his job, okay? And that is exactly what Senate Majority Leader John Thune said to J.D. Vance. I mean, just listen to this.
He talks about matters of theology?
Yeah.
Isn't that his job?
That's focused on his administration on the economic issues, the pocketbook issues that I think most Americans care about. And let the church be the church.
Okay, more Republicans need to be saying that because, you should be talking about the economy and the price of gas and taxes. Today's tax day. I mean, the economy should be front and center. But instead, we're talking about Trump taking on the Pope ad nauseum. By the way, I'm not Catholic, I'm Protestant, but I read today that there are 6 reasons, apparently, according to Catholicism, when you would go to war. And according to the Pope, we have not gotten to any of those 6 with the Iranian war. So what's the Pope supposed to do? Take a total 180 and go, hey, I'm the first Pope ever to actually be for war? I mean, when you think it through, of course he's going to say what he's going to say.
Right. So which